Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Change Your Mind podcast, where we explore personal development, spirituality, and science. I'm your host, Chris Ashley, and I am incredibly excited for my guest today. It is going to be a phenomenal conversation, I can already tell. First, couple quick announcements before we get started. Head over to the links in the show notes. You are going to find a link to my book, Change Your Mind to Change Your Reality. It was endorsed by Michael Beckwith, Bob Doyle, Marcy Shimoff, all of whom were on The Secret. It was endorsed by Anita Morjani and John Gray, who wrote Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. So go check it out. You'll also find links for my lovely guest. You'll find links to my free courses, masterclass, coaching, ways to sponsor the podcast, ways to stay connected on social media. And finally, this podcast is part of the Los Angeles Tribune Podcast Network. Sounds kind of funny that a newspaper has a podcast network, but we are putting on huge personal development events. We have a huge personal development arm spearheaded by Tony Robbins, Executive Vice President of Production for 18 years. So I was just on stage with Les Brown and Dr. Joe Vitale and Mary Morrissey and Joseph McClendon. So we are doing amazing things. Come join us, stay connected, check out all the other amazing podcasts in the network. Hi, I'm Chris. When I was younger, I went through trauma that caused me to feel broken and lost. But my life changed after I had a spiritual awakening. Since then, I've dedicated my life to studying and learning from masters all around the world that have helped me to create a life of fulfillment and abundance beyond my wildest dreams. Now I'm dedicated to sharing everything I've learned so that you don't have to suffer for decades like I did. I've seen people's lives completely transform, and I share it all right here. All right, let's get to it.
I'm signed up. That sounds great.
Nice. Well, I've got one person. Awesome. So yeah, I've got with me Karl Braveman. So Karl is a distinguished meditation and mindfulness expert, mentor, coach, and healer. He has studied practices such as Qigong. You have to correct me if I'm saying anything wrong, Karl. Crystal healing, Usui and Tibetan Reiki. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Yeah.
Okay, you're going to have to tell me what that is. Sekhem Healing. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Yeah.
I probably could have done this before. Okay, you're going to have to tell me what that is. Hypnotherapy and EFT. With clients from all over the world, Karl has become a respected figure in the mindfulness and self-realization space. His dedication is grounded in real-world challenges, having overcome significant personal, physical, and emotional struggles. So welcome, Karl. I'm so happy you're here today.
Hi. Well, thank you. That's quite an introduction. Well, I mean, with all of these things, the words don't matter. It's the experience that matters. So pronouncing something one way or another is really not that important, is it? But it is Qigong. Qi, like Tai Chi, it's the other side of Tai Chi. So Tai Chi is moving and flowing with energy, and Qigong is more about cultivating. So you cultivate before you flow. So they're two sides of the same coin, but that's particularly my training. It's kind of less aesthetically interesting than Tai Chi. It's more internal than a kind of flow and a dance, but it's very, very powerful, very grounding, but also very activating. I'm all about us becoming aware on a day-to-day basis of our multidimensional selves. So yes, we are human beings. We're here to do our human, but we're also here to be spiritual beings, to be multidimensional. And in this new age that we're now entering into, increasingly we are moving into the experience on a day-to-day basis of being multidimensional. So that's what that's all about. Energy healing for me, laying on of hands. Sekhem is ancient Egyptian Reiki. It's kind of, my understanding is that it's the original Reiki. So Usui, which is the Japanese Reiki that most people are familiar with, and then also Tibetan Reiki. The original energy and the original teachings came from Egypt, ancient Egypt, but where did they get it from? So they may have well got it from Atlantis and other ancient civilizations, or maybe it came from extraterrestrial beings and stuff, right? So But yeah, so it's a very strong, in a good way, powerful healing modality. So yeah, and I'm bringing in sacred geometry. I work with guides, and I like playing. It's just like just having the confidence. Just once you've got a baseline of a foundation of a skill set, you can just go, oh, I can just blend that into my own unique offering. And you don't necessarily, because like Reiki, I don't know whether you're familiar with Reiki, but it's very Japanese. It's very like rigid and structured and disciplined, and that's great, but it's also great in our spirituality to be able to expand and play and be like more childlike, and just like create and be creative and get new inspiration and new ideas that are maybe not what's in the manual, but it's your own particular blend, your own particular way of doing things. And that's how I like to teach with my coaching, is instead of me, I mean, I've got my own personal journey, right? We've all got our own personal understandings of how things are, but for me, the way that I do coaching is very much about asking questions more than it is giving people answers, because people have to go on their own journey. And as a coach, as a guide, as a mentor, my role is to help encourage and facilitate that person on their journey, because we're all so unique, right? What works for one person, what is the truth for one person isn't the truth for the other. So we're all very much unique beings, aren't we? So we're all on our own special unique journey. I think that's really exciting, because we don't want to be like everybody else, do we? We want to be our own individual selves. So that's, I think, really beautiful.
Totally. Yeah. Thanks so much for explaining all that. I had no idea Reiki's roots or that kind of energy healing were in ancient Egypt. And I said this when we were in the green room. I was like, I took a look at your website, which is where I got your awesome bio. And I was like, okay, I know we're going to be on the same page with like a million things. And, I'm so fascinated with ancient Egypt and Atlantis. Like I have the tattoos, right? And all their mystery schools. And then you start talking about sacred geometry. I'm like, the book that led to my spiritual awakening was The Ancient Secret of the Flower of Life by Drunvalo Melchizedek, where he talks about sacred geometry. I read it back in 2001, I think. So I'm so excited to talk about all of this with you. But I'm gonna backpedal for a second, because I start all my episodes the same way, and you're not getting away without answering this one question.
Oh, okay.
So, and I think you're going to have a really great answer. I ask my guests what their origin story is, because I want to know what put you on this path to becoming this incredible meditation and mindfulness and coach and expert. So I have a feeling you have a really inspirational story. So please, if you wouldn't mind sharing, what put you on this journey in the first place.
Oh, how long have you got? Let's start with birth. I had a traumatic birth. I have the forceps scars to prove it. I was like that moment of birth was a trauma for me, and that began a chapter which has been. I'm smiling about it now, because it's actually been a source of great joy and tremendous amount of gratitude. But it's definitely been a story of a lot of trauma, a lot of central nervous system dysfunction. I had a very, very serious car accident that I was incredibly lucky to get out of alive. I could have easily died. It was incredibly, very, very serious, and very, very lucky that I survived. And that created a very significant spinal injury. And I was told that I would be in a wheelchair and I would need carers every day. And, they wanted to put metal rods in my back and all of this stuff. And so pain is a great teacher. It doesn't always feel that way. I'm not suggesting for one moment that it's always fun, but pain and suffering are great teachers if we allow them to be. And so I came up with this saying the other day that I meditated, not medicated. So I didn't take the pain meds, and I didn't take the antidepressants, and I didn't take the sleeping pills, and I didn't take the all the anti stuff that the Western medicine is all about. Symptom management, right? He's got symptoms,
Right.
quick, give him some more pills. And I was like, no, I
Exactly.
feel like there's going to be a different way for me. I always felt that. I wasn't raised at all spiritual. I was definitely completely asleep, if you like. I had I was always a bit of a deep thinker, but I didn't really come into meditation, mindfulness practice until this screaming pain came along, and I was living with a red hot poker of pain in my lumbar spine for quite a number of years, and somehow I developed this understanding that the more we resist, the more it persists. And so I, step by step, both with psychological pain, because I've been through the mill a lot with various different things. People can read my full bio on my website if they're interested about my journey. But I began to realize that if and it's a journey, I'm not suggesting that it's easy, but if you can bring love and acceptance and compassion to whatever you're experiencing, it helps over time, sometimes instantly, to transform and transmute stuff. And so what you're holding rigidly and tightly, saying, I can't accept this, this is too hard, it's too unfair, it's too unjust, it's too painful, you're just going to create more of that. That is just how it works. What you resist persists. And so through breath work, through meditation, through mindfulness, by bringing my hand to my heart and just saying, I love myself, even though I'm in pain, even though I'm struggling, even though I've been abandoned by my whole family. I haven't had any contact from my family for over 10 years. I've been completely abandoned by my family. There's a lot of grief there to be dealt with. There's a lot of pain there to be dealt with. And I've worked through that, using different modalities. EFT is amazing. I use EFT a lot. That I'm sure has helped me tremendously. Affirmation work, mirror work, looking at yourself in the mirror, in the eyes, and saying, I love you, is so powerful, so profound. Most of the things that I teach, it's probably the same for you, Chris. When it comes down to it, it's really simple stuff, right? It's not rocket science, Sitting and breathing, what could be more easy than that? It's like, I'm a meditation teacher. People ask me what I do for a living. I say I teach people to sit and breathe. It's like, how difficult is that? But as actually it can be the hardest thing to sit with yourself, with the emotional pain that we're experiencing, with trauma, with physical pain. And I'm sorry, I'm going off on one talking about my story, but basically a lot of pain and suffering over a long period of time. I'll just finish by just saying there was a point on that journey where it became so ridiculous how much suffering I was experiencing, so ridiculous how much psychological and emotional pain I was experiencing, that it kind of made me think, this has to be about something, right? This has to be for something. It's just a ridiculous amount otherwise. There has to be some greater purpose. And I suppose over a period of time, I started to realize, instead of reading about spiritual principles from books, I walked the walk, and I felt the feelings, and I did my beingness, and I still do now. And I'm still a beginner. Beginner's mind. Every single day is a new beginning, and sometimes I'm feeling like, whoa, I'm super charged and highly activated and on a different planet, and then I'm back in the human again, back in the okay, I've got to do the feelings again. I've got to so it's we're all beginners, right? Even if you're like an advanced practitioner, having that beginner's mind and recognizing that we're all students walking on this path, that it's a journey, not a destination. So yeah.
Totally. I mean, I think if we were really masters and there wasn't anything else to learn, we wouldn't be here anymore, right? Like we would have
Exactly
ascended, right? And I love that.
Exactly
I love
right.
that mindset. Thank you so much for sharing your story. I have to ask, like, did you end up totally healing your back? Like, how are you today? How are you doing physically? Because, like, being told you're going to be in a wheelchair, that's pretty serious.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, it has been incredibly serious. I am still disabled. I don't like to use that word because it seems the connotation around it is such a
Sure.
limitation. I am enabled, not disabled.
Okay.
But I still have physical health challenges quite severely. I am still, well, we're all limited. You know, we're all limited. It doesn't matter who you are, how healthy and strong and well you are. You still need to sleep. You still need to rest. You still can't run up. I mean, I don't know anybody who can run a marathon every day. You need to rest. So we all have limitations. But yeah, I still have pain. I just had a huge flare up actually quite recently with my spine. It was like it went right back to the beginning. I was like, oh, hello, hello, old friend. I haven't experienced you before, and I had this quite profound experience actually of just like a slipped disc. I don't know if you've ever had that, but
Painful.
yeah, very, 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 very painful. It was like going right back to the beginning, like post car accident. And luckily, I would say, it sounds a bit egotistical, but I think it's true that I would class myself as being an advanced meditator. Um, and when these things come up for us in our lives, any kind of trigger, any kind of pain, it's an invitation. And sometimes it's like, oh, really? I've haven't I done this already? But
Totally.
there's always more layers, and there's always more. There's always more to learn, and there's always um, more to gain. There's always more gifts to come from it. And what happened to me in this most recent flare up with my back is excruciating pain again, and I was just like, really, I could hardly walk. It was so painful. And I sat and I meditated, and yet again I went really into it. I didn't offer any resistance to it at all, and I just said, I'm going to feel this pain and I'm going to love it. I'm going to just love it. I'm not going to ask it to change. I'm not going to demand anything of it at all. I'm just going to honor its presence and be with it. And instead of a slip disc taking usually, I don't know, a month, 2 months to heal, I swear to God, Chris, 2-3 days after that, it was completely better again. And that just, for me, that was the gift in it, right? The gift in it was the experience of that fast pace of transmutation and transformation that was possible, and just reminding me of the profound potential in these, quite, as I say, quite potentially theoretically quite simple. It sounds quite simple, right? Obviously, putting these things into practice is a lot more tricky, but the profound potential for healing and transformation that can occur when we allow what is occurring to occur, when we sit and be the witness of what is occurring rather than being in it. The pain is there, the thoughts are there, the heartache is there, but we are not that, right? We are not that. We're not the body, we're not the thoughts, we're not the identification with things and people and relationships and income, and all of that is a temporary expression of who we are, but it's not who we are, really. We are the divine, we are the essence, we are the watchers, right? We are the one that's having the experience. So for me, it was a very beautiful remembering again of like, yeah, here I am, being the watcher, taking that step back, being that eagle on the perch, looking down on myself and sending love and sending compassion and watching how it changes. Because that's the beautiful thing. It sounds like such a cliche that this too shall pass, right? Everyone says that, like, this too shall pass, and it's like, oh, really? But it actually is true. Absolutely everything has a beginning, a middle, and an end. Everything is cycles and cycles. The breath is coming and going. We are being reborn in each breath. So, when we can come back to that simplicity of us being the witness and the watcher of our experience, rather than being so wrapped up in it that we are identified and rigid and therefore resisting it, because we're like, I don't want this, I don't want that. And who is this I, right? Who is this I that's saying, I don't want this? It's the egoic self. Whereas the witness within us, the spiritual being within us, is just in a state of beingness. That's as simple as it is, really. It's about stepping into that beingness.
I think that's such a beautiful. I think everything you said is really beautiful, and here's why. Because we've all heard that like little catchphrase, "What you resist persists," right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's hard. It's hard to explain. How do you not resist something if you're in excruciating pain, or if you're in a really awful situation, right? Like there's that line, because people like coming back and like kind of fighting against that might be like, well, what's the difference between like that and not fighting to get out of something, or not taking
Yeah.
action steps to get out of something? Do you get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and it's kind of that fine line that you have to like walk to navigate that, to be like,
Yeah. Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
it's, and I think like going into meditation and sending it love and acceptance, and that's a really hard thing to do.
Yeah, no, it absolutely is. I know that. I mean, I know that on a personal level, and
Yeah.
I certainly don't ever make light of how challenging life can be. I mean, life can really put people through it.
Yeah.
I wanted to speak a little bit to that point that you were talking about, because there's a tendency for people to think that when we're talking about love and compassion, that they sound quite passive, right?
Yeah.
That it's like, okay, so I'm going to be just trampled over and walked over, and and just sit and be zen, right? But actually, I think the opposite is true. When you really come into that center, you are powerful, right? You are in that spiritual warrior place. You are in your sovereignty, right? So it's not passive at all. It just means that when you really come into to balance, when you really come into your center, when you really come into the heart, it means that the action that you do take will be true action. And when your heart and your soul, when the body, mind, and the spirit are working as one, you're invincible, baby. You can do anything. You can climb mountains, you can overcome challenges, heartache. We can change the world, right? I mean, my film Visioning the New Earth is this call to action. It's an inspiring little piece that I put together that encourages us to realize that it does start with us. If we want to change the world out there, the world out there is only a reflection of our inner landscape, right? We are, we are. It's a feedback loop. The world out there is a manifestation of our internal world. So if you want to heal the world out there, you've got to start inside. And that going in, that journey of going inward, that's not passive. That's not weak. It's the very opposite of that. It requires courage, and it requires strength, and it requires determination and love. And love is not passive and weak. Love is a strength and a power within us that will literally move mountains. So yeah, I think it's really important to remember that it's not this kind of passive, let's just sit and be calm. I mean, it can be that, but it can also be like, yeah, let's get really into our warrior energy, and into the power of no, right, as well as the power of yes. It's like, no, I'm not accepting that, I'm not tolerating that, but coming from that place of love. So it's not an energy of aggressiveness, but it's that strong will, that like the mother's love kind of thing, that kind of really like what you wouldn't do for your children kind of thing. I mean, he says
Yeah.
having been abandoned by his mother, but anyway, that's another story.
That's something else we have in common. I was disowned by like half my family too. So when you said that, I was like, oh yeah, we're like soul siblings
Right.
or something.
Okay. Yeah.
But okay, so yes, totally. I love that you said all that. And you know, my brother-in-law and I have this conversation a lot. He's a total monk. Like he literally spends like 4 months out of the year in the Himalayas. They have to take like a 20-hour Jeep ride like up into, and he stays at this monastery and he meditates 5 hours a day, literally. And that's his existence. And my husband and I are very much into like manifesting and like, so it's all this like being versus doing, right? Like you don't want to live so much in the future that you're missing the present moment, but you also want to
Yeah.
like create your reality, right? So it's a balance. But I want to touch on something you said, because it's kind of what I wanted to talk a little bit about today. You were talking about how our outer world is a manifestation of our inner world. And this isn't probably going to air for like 6 weeks or so, but right now it is November 5th and you are in the UK, but I am in the United States and it is election day. And you know, oh my God, it's palpable, the tension, right? And the
Yeah. Yeah.
anxiety, the
Absolutely.
stress of people. And we're living, you know, it's so easy to like look outside right now and just see, especially in the US, I don't know how it is in the UK, but there's a lot of division and there's a lot of tension and Mother Nature is fucking pissed, right? There's like hurricanes and like there's like it's and fires and it's wild. And there's this idea of, you know, our inner world creates our outer world. And I totally believe that as well. I write about it in my book, but I want to get your perspective on this. Um, and we're also moving into this new earth, right? We're moving into this place, like the collective consciousness is rising. And there's this idea that we have to like go through it to get out. But like if everyone is manifesting this shit collectively, like where do we go from here? Like how do we look at all of this with a spiritual perspective? And like how do we help move things in a more beautiful place?
Okay.
I know.
Okay.
I'm throwing it at you because I feel
No,
like you're the
good. No,
right
that's
person
great.
to be having this conversation with today.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so there's a few things. I mean, hopefully by the time this airs, you will actually know who's going to be president, because I don't
God,
think
I
it's
hope
going
so,
to. I
man.
think it's going to be. I think it's going to take quite a while for the dust to settle on this. I think you guys are
Yeah,
in for a little bit of a tricky time over the next
I think so too.
couple of months, probably.
Probably till
Um,
January when
yeah,
whoever steps
yeah,
into
yeah,
office.
yeah. So but this is the time when we need to lean into our practices more than ever. If I can just plug tiny little bit, I've got a course coming out in the new year called Start Your Day the Right Way, which is just really simply encouraging people to get off their day on the right foot. I don't know about you, but I've definitely got into a bit of a naughty habit of starting the day by looking at screens, and I'm like, what am I doing? Really? Do I need to check my Facebook now? Really? Is that the best way for me to start my day? It'll all be there a little bit later in the day. Do I need to check the news? Is that really the best thing for me to do to start the day? It'll all be there. The news will still be there, a bit later on. Anyway, so
Just coming back from first, right? And then all of a sudden it's Earth again, right?
yeah, exactly. Yeah. But, it can be very overwhelming to think about, all of the stuff that's going wrong in the world. I mean, we're in this sort of everything crisis at the moment. Everything is coming to a head. The last, since the Industrial Revolution, it's just gone, population has exploded. The amount of destruction that mankind has inflicted on both other human beings and on the planet is extraordinary. I mean, it's almost like, really? How did we manage to well, you swore already, so how I can say, how did we manage to fuck it up so much? It's just unbelievable. However, we are very powerful. We are broadcasting a frequency at all times. So what you put energy onto grows and amplifies, right? That's the law of attraction. So, don't worry about, well, you can't do anything about, I don't know, Russia or North Korea or, China invading Taiwan or whatever else might be happening, and Israel, Palestine. There's so much going on in the world that you can just be completely overwhelmed in, domestic affairs in the US with you guys there, here in the UK. The world is not a happy place right now. We can't change everything, but we can change us. That's how it starts. So inhabiting more often throughout the day, coming back to the breath, coming back to the heart, coming back to love and peace and compassion, practicing loving kindness. Don't broadcast out an energy of anger and hatred and division. The world's got enough of that already. Find a higher note. Imagine that you are an orchestra, that every single day, from every single moment that you walk through the day, you are an orchestra playing a symphony. What symphony do you want to be playing? What note do you want to be resonating? Keep coming back to that. And it's not to be in some kind of spiritual bypassing where we're just like, la, 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 la. It's all rainbows and unicorns and I'm not going to listen to the news and everything's wonderful. Of course not. There's a hell of a lot of stuff that's going wrong. But we can feed that by our negativity and our fear, right? Or we can practice some other thing. And that means coming from the inside out, loving, being compassionate. Just smiling at somebody down the street can change their whole day. I have had people who I have known who were literally on the verge of, they'd made a decision in their mind that they were going to go home and they were going to commit suicide. That was the thing that they were going to do. And then they just happen, as they're walking down the street, somebody just looked at them in the eyes and smiled at them. And it just changes their frequency and it changes their whole day. And save their whole life.
Someone who was going to jump off the bridge, or he might have, I forget if he did or not. That was in his suicide note. He's like, I'm going to walk like 2 hours to the bridge, and if one person looks me in the eye and smiles, I'm not going to do it.
Wow.
And I don't, yeah. But no, totally. Wow. Sorry to cut you off, but yeah.
So again, it's like, these simple things can seem so like, oh, come on, how is the world going to change if I just smile at a few people? But you know what? If everybody started smiling at people, wouldn't that change the whole world? We think of ourselves as being, I mean, not necessarily you and I, and maybe not even your audience, but generally people think of themselves as being individuals. This is me. This is me. But we're all connected. We're all in a global symphony together. We're all in a global energy together. And so, the power of prayer is profound and powerful. The power of love, the power of compassion, the power of forgiveness, sending the people in the world who most need help and healing. I mean, pick your I don't know, world leader or something that you're just like, oh my God, really? Why are these people in charge? Instead of broadcasting to them, judgment, anger, resentment, hatred, don't you think that they might be feeding off that? Right? These narcissists, these psychopaths, these sociopaths that are running the planet, don't you think they might actually be energized by that kind of energy that's being broadcast towards them? How about, I know this is a big one, but how about practicing some love and compassion towards those kind of people? They can't handle that. They're just like, what do you mean? What do you mean? I don't want love. No. So actually, that's how we change. That's how we're going to change the world, is by sending out. And love it can't, there's no defense against love. It's like, oh, no, I will not accept your love. They can't, they're absolutely, they build all these walls and they've got all these tanks and there's all these machine guns and all of this rubbish. Love will penetrate all of that, right? So, I think it comes back to, as we can in our everyday, checking in with ourselves, right? Where am I right now? Where am I right now? Coming back to here, we think of ourselves as as this brain thing, that's where we are. But the body is kind of, the body is here as well. But this is who I am. It's up here. What about if the center of gravity could be shifted to the heart, and just keep coming back to the heart as often as you can for yourself. Healer, heal thyself. Coming into the heart for your own experience of what is arising in us, but also share a bit of that love. It's a beautiful practice just to send out a frequency of love to the planet, to world leaders, to people suffering, to our neighbors, to animals, to whatever. Just be of generous heart. That, I think, that is going to it changes our lives individually, because it's a feedback loop, right? So the more you give out a frequency of love and light, the more that comes back. So it's like as you give, so you receive. But if that kind of energy was replicated by millions and millions and millions of people, then wow, that's really powerful. So profound simplicity, it's coming back every single day. Every single breath is a new beginning. Where am I centered? Put your hand on your heart, take a couple of breaths. Can I? And of course, sometimes the answer is no, and that's okay. Can I offer some love and compassion in this situation? So it's not forcing it. It's not like some BS spirituality that we're talking about here. You need to really feel it. It has to be true, has to be genuine. But can I just give yourself the opportunity that maybe in this moment I can bring some love and compassion to that situation or to that individual, and see. And if it's possible, then great, go for it. And if it's not, then give love and compassion to the part of yourself that can't. That's what it's all about.
I love that, like, gentleness, right, of not forcing it. Like, can I? And I love your metaphor of this orchestra, and you can send out a different note, because music's a vibration too, a frequency too, and it's such a great way of taking something that feels intangible, like, oh, raise your vibration, raise your frequency, and making it like something that we know and can understand. That's so beautiful. And to your point about sending world leaders love, I love that so much, because it is so easy to send love to people who are nice to us, or who do good, quote unquote good. I don't think anyone's good or evil, right? But to do like good, quote unquote, good deeds in the world. But it's a lot harder to send love to people who honestly probably need it more, right? Because if you're out there creating harm, I mean, if everyone makes mistakes, there's accidents, of course, but if you're like purposefully creating harm, like, you are coming from a place of your own pain,
Absolutely.
right? Or your own
Absolutely.
fear.
Yeah.
And I think you nailed it, like sending out love. And it's like you said, it's so simple.
I mean,
But
it's so simple, and it's so hard. But I mean, that's why, I mean, I think a big foundation of my life, and it's saved me literally. I've been on the edge of suicide plenty of times through this 20-year journey, and a foundation stone in my survival and my thriving and my my evolution has been gratitude. And it's like, okay, but it's easy to be grateful for the sunny day. Can I be grateful for the cloudy day? Can I be grateful for the rainy days? Because you have to have rainy days in order to enjoy the sunny days, right? If it was sunny all the time, you would totally forget to be appreciative of it, right? So, you don't get the rainbows without the gray clouds and the storm systems coming in, right? So, it's bringing that. I feel like it's a muscle that you exercise, this gratitude muscle. It gets stronger as you tone it, as you work it out more frequently. Can I bring gratitude to the more difficult things that are happening in my life? And what I've noticed, and what I notice when I teach this with my clients, is that allows alchemy to happen really quickly. And people start to go, oh, wow, I'm genuinely grateful. Like I was saying about this pain, there's been times in my life, and I am genuinely, I mean, I have been through so much, I'm not saying, I I'm not special. There's lots of people who, there's not a competition, right? But, I've been through so much, and I am genuinely really, really grateful for all of that. And that is such a gift, to be grateful for the hardest things that have happened to us in our lives. And that isn't something that just happens overnight. Oh yeah, I'm just going to be grateful for the idiot boyfriend that dumped me, or I don't know, that car that cut me up, or what have you. I don't know. It's a step by step, moment by moment process, and it has to start with being gentle and kind to ourselves. So don't give yourself a hard time if you're not able to practice gratitude or send love and light to somebody or some situation. Start where you are. It's not like, I think we've had enough, haven't we, of this sort of religiosity, which has been like a rod for our own back, and just like suffer and guilt, and I'm not good enough. Oh my God, I'm not good enough. Maybe we can just all start by being kind to ourselves and being friendly with yourself. One of the courses that I'm going to start in the new year is called Best Friending Yourself. Instead of being your worst enemy, can you turn that around and become your own best friend? And that's like a profound journey for some people, because people are not necessarily even aware that they've got this inner critic, this thought, this identification in their heads that's giving them such a hard time all the time. You're not good enough. You're not good enough. You're not good enough. You're not worthy. You're not good enough. You're too fat. You're too this. You're too that. You're not enough this. You're rubbish. And all of this is going on in the background, just endlessly repeating. And it's like, what if we could switch that up? What if we could change that around and be our own best friend? And, that kind of switch is what we need globally, is people to recognize that, oh, actually, we can just change channel, change note, change the music, change the station, change the frequency, and then just see how it ripples out. And how it will unfold very, very naturally and effortlessly. And gratitude is such a beautiful and profound and powerful practice. Really encourage people to get into that. Not just the things that are easy to be grateful for, like you said. Start bringing that gratitude practice to some of the more challenging aspects in your life, and see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. And it goes hand in hand with what you resist persists, right? If you can be grateful, it helps you with acceptance. And for me, what helped, I use gratitude to manifest also, right? I'm grateful for things I don't even have yet, right? Because they're out there.
Yeah.
But once you're like on that frequency of gratitude, more things to be grateful for come to you. And I think personally, what helped me be grateful during those cloudy days is getting through some of them and seeing how much growth came out of that adversity, right?
Yeah.
Because then like once you are like, okay, there was like a lesson to be learned, or I leveled up somehow, or something good came out of this, right? I grew in some kind of way. Then you start to welcome the adversity a little bit more.
That's right.
Right? It still isn't fun, but you're like, okay, I know on the other side of this, something really good is going to come out of it. Kind of how, like you said, you're like, this is all has to be for a reason.
Yeah. And what I experience in my life is, because you've got that mindset, that gratitude mindset, and that gift mindset, you start looking out for, oh, what's the gift in this, right? What's you start putting that energy out there much more quickly. It doesn't mean you don't suffer. It doesn't mean you don't feel. It doesn't mean it actually encourages you to feel more, right? To go deeper into these feelings, because you're not so resistant and you're not so scared of them, because you know that in the heart of that heartache, that pain, that sensation, that trigger, there is a gift. There's an opportunity that spirit, consciousness, the divine, whatever language you want to use for it, is constantly communicating with us and helping us. And it's really hard to hear that the hardest, most challenging things that have happened in our lives can be for our highest good. That is not an easy sell, right? You're not going to sell many books with a title going, hey, this is great, enjoy your suffering, but actually, if you allow that possibility, that plants a seed. It's like, you're planting seeds. Every single day we're planting seeds in our garden. And sure enough, those seeds will grow. What seeds are we planting? So just every day, just sprinkle a few gratitude seeds into your garden. Sprinkle a little bit more joy into your experience. Sprinkle a little bit more heart-centeredness, a bit more compassion, and that garden will surely grow. It's as simple as that, really.
And I like that you're saying just sprinkle a little, because you don't have to go like, it might be so overwhelming for someone to go from like nothing to like, oh, I'm so grateful for everything, right? It doesn't
Of
feel
course.
sincere. And it's like, if you can start, but I wanted, you brought something up that it prompted a question in my mind. You talk about feeling your emotions through it. And I am totally there with you. Like the way through is to like feel it, right? Like you have to let go of those things. So when you're coaching someone, how do you walk that line, or how do you help them walk that line between falling into victim mentality where it becomes their identity and feeling their emotions? Because that's a tricky one for people too, right? That's that other one that people get very like knee-jerk defensive about.
Yeah. I mean, it's well, everyone's different. You have to be gentle with people. You have to be, you don't want to go too deep, too quick. I always come back to the breath with people. Just be aware that you are breathing. So they say that our conscious selves are able to concentrate or focus on 7 things at once. I'm not sure if it's as many as 7 actually, but so there might be the pain, there might be a memory that's coming up, but there's also the breath. There's also maybe the sensation in your feet, or the sensation of your fingers. So instead of going so into it that it consumes you and takes you over, you keep that sense of expandedness. That's not a word, is it? Expansion. You keep
Sounded
that.
fine to me.
Yeah, well, I'll just make it up. Karl Braveman making up words. Why not? Yeah, you keep that sense of expansion. So yes, you're aware of this heaviness, this feeling, this memory. Maybe there's abuse, maybe there's trauma, maybe there's neglect. Something really. We've all got our wounds, right? We've all got our cross to bear. But you work with those heavy energies from a place of expansion. You don't go so into them that you're lost in them. I don't want people leaving a session with me feeling like they've been in the ring, like, and they're just like, oh my God, I want people to come away from that session feeling elevated, aware. Maybe you've peeled back. It's like we're all so multi-layered. There's no peeling back layers. So you peel back a little layer, and then you rest and you come back. You don't want to go too far too soon. And I love EFT. I use EFT a lot with my clients. I find it incredibly useful for recognizing an emotion, a thought, an idea that's got stuck in our systems, and we just tap it through, and then we come back and we just put it to one side for a little bit. And it just, like, you don't want to like get right in there, it's like, oh, just like be gentle, gentleness, be kind. Sometimes less is more. I think part of the capitalistic model that we're in right now is all about instantaneous results, right? Everybody wants results, right? And people are in a hurry to get stuff done. And sometimes, be gentle with yourself. You've got an inner child that's maybe scared. You've got an inner child that's maybe, frightened. So you've got to walk with that inner child. You've got to walk with that fear, and be gentle and kind and loving, and yeah, just take it slowly. And if people haven't got a guide or a coach or a mentor, whether that's, obviously we're in this amazing technological age where there's a huge amount of information out there on YouTube and all these other platforms and stuff, but don't try and do it all by yourself. I mean, that was the path that I went on. I definitely was this kind of lone warrior archetype, and did the whole kind of like, I can do all the very masculine thing. I can do all of this by myself. I don't need anybody. And you can do that if you want, but we're better together. We are definitely better together. We need the support. We need the encouragement. We need the inspiration, and we need people who understand that healing is a process. Maybe it never ends. Actually, it's just a, it's an evolving story. It's, it's the journey, not the destination, right? But yeah, being gentle and keeping a wider perspective. So you're feeling your feelings, but you're not absorbed by it, right? I think that's how I would approach it.
Yeah, I really appreciate all of that. I'm gonna ask if you would be willing. I'm gonna throw you into the lion's den a little bit. Would you be willing to just walk listeners through like a 3 to 5 minute meditation?
Sure.
We've been talking about like regulating nervous system, and the world is crazy right now, and coming back to your heart. And I think everyone listening could use a little bit of what you have to share.
Okay, just a couple of minutes, just a little exercise.
Yeah, thanks for being such a good sport.
No, absolute pleasure. So if everybody feels okay to do so, let's just close our eyes. You can have a little bit of light coming through. You don't have to completely close them, but just soften the gaze, and let's just notice what that feels like for starters, without any judgment. Just notice. And maybe bring the awareness down. You can imagine it's like an elevator, and we're in the top floor in the head right now, in the penthouse. And we're going to take the elevator down through the center of the body. So the elevator is moving down to the throat. And maybe you can just take a breath in the throat. Feel a sense of expansion happening in the throat. And then the elevator moves down into the heart. Just take a couple of nice big breaths into the heart space, softening and opening into the heart center. And then the elevator starts to descend down further, down the spine, into the belly, solar plexus, breathing into the belly, seeing how the belly swells, feeling the expansion and the contraction as you breathe. The breath like waves crashing on a beach, gentle, rhythmic breath. And then the elevator descending down into the sitting bones, into the root chakra, feeling the weight of the body compressing down onto the seat, the cushion, just feeling the heaviness of the body, the physicality at rest, landing back into the body, letting go of any holding there in that groin area and the hips, just seeing if you can just let that drop. And the elevator descending down now, down the legs to the knees, feeling into the sensations of the knees, breathing into the back of the knees. And then descending down, the elevator going down now to the soles of the feet, breathing into the feet, feeling all the sensations there, how alive the feet feel, the pressure of the heels and the ball of each foot, the toes, the tips of the toes, compressing down. And let's take the elevator down one more level to a foot or so beneath your feet. And you can imagine a point of light there, a foot or so beneath your feet, a sparkling white light, like a beautiful crystal. And then allow that crystal to expand, get bigger, and descend down, 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 beneath layers of rock and soil, all the way down into the core of the planet. So way down beneath your feet, there's a ball of magma, a brilliant crystal, shimmering, sparkling, radiating energy. And then whilst you hold that in your energy, in your awareness, you bring your awareness back up to the crown of the head. And you can just imagine like a circular movement at the crown of the head, like a halo. And let that halo spiral up, up, up. And see that a foot or two above your head, there's another crystal, brilliant, white, sparkling light. And we let that expand and expand and expand. So we are sandwiched between two incredible, potent forces, the power of the earth energy beneath our feet and the universal energy, the divine energy above our heads. And then to close the meditation, just drop your awareness back into the heart. This is where we live. This is where we are most centered. So breathe into the heart. Open and expand on the in-breath. And also on the out-breath, you can send it out like that note, like that music, like that orchestra. Breathing in with love. Breathing out with love. Breathing in with love. And breathing out with love. And let's just take a final deep breath to close the practice. And then gently, softly starting to open the eyes. Maybe take a look around the room, just coming fully back into the 3D, into the here and now, into this moment. Oh, I don't know about anybody else, but that was great for me.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. That was so wonderful. I needed that. I'm sure I'm sure a lot of people out there needed it. I think I might actually try and put this episode out maybe next week, just because I think the world needs it right, or the US needs it for sure right now. Thank you so much. Is there anything else we didn't touch on today? We only have a few minutes left before I ask you to share.
No, that's
Yeah.
fine. I think we've covered a lot. There's a lot there for people to take away and to digest. I would love people to check out my little film, Visioning the New Earth.
Yeah.
It's only 5 minutes or so long. It's it's not scared to confront some of the challenges that we're talking about in our lives. I'm not about spiritual bypassing at all. We need to confront, we need to be aware, we need to be awake to what is happening in the world. But how are we going to change that? Like we talked about earlier, it starts with us. It starts with coming into the heart, broadcasting out an energy, a frequency of love, of compassion, forgiveness, acceptance. So I'd love people to see my film, Visioning the New Earth. Please check me out on social media, Karl Braveman. KarlBraveman.com is my website. And I'm just so grateful to have the opportunity to connect with you, and sending so much love to the United States right now, in these growing pains. You guys are going through a bit of some growing pains right now. And it's all for love. It's all gonna be okay, guys. It's all gonna be okay. just got to keep breathing, keep sending out that love and that light, and visioning the new earth. What does that look like for us, and how can we inhabit it now? How can we live that now? So yeah, just sending so much love and so much gratitude for your time today, Chris, and wishing you a blessed day.
Thank you so much, Karl. And I'll be sure to put all your links in the show notes. So if you're driving and listening to this, or you can always come back to it and find all those links.
Yeah,
So
don't do that meditation when you're driving. That's a little disclaimer there. I don't want any lawsuits, okay?
No, none of that. And yeah, thank you so much. And I think you froze a little bit on my end. Hopefully I'm not talking over you, but I think what you said at the end there is so important about envisioning the earth that we want and not getting swept up in all the fear. So thank you for that final note. If you're listening, please send this to someone you think might benefit from it. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Let's try to all raise the consciousness and move humanity into that beautiful new space. So thank you so much. See you all next time. Have a beautiful rest of your day.